They are running scared right now. And they should be, because stuff is about to hit the fan. I don't know if you've been enjoying your weekend. You had a great weekend. You weren't really paying attention to what's going on in the economy right now. It is bad. So this morning, we had Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, come out and say one thing. And then a few hours later, sources saying now that the Treasury is going back on that and going to say something completely opposite. You know that's bad news. Within the same few hours, there's a major pivot on monetary policy. So what in the world is going on? Well, if you haven't been paying attention, late Friday, of course, we saw the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. Basically, all of these investments in treasuries and other things had dried up, and bank collapsed, and all of these Silicon Valley venture, startups and venture capital companies had a lot of money in Silicon Valley Bank, and they lost it all. And the FDIC and the Treasury stepped in and said, no, those people with deposits are safe up to $250,000, but beyond that, sorry, you're screwed. And the average deposit was $2.2 million in these accounts. Now, the big concern, of course, is the contagion factor, because as we've been warning here on this show for months, there could be runs on the bank like we're already seeing in Africa. We're already seeing in some European countries, and now starting to see concern about runs on the bank inside the United States, specifically Wells Fargo, a lot of the big banks. So what's going on here? Well, the real secret is that the emperor has no clothes. The FDIC, right, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is basically the insurance version of the federal government insuring your bank deposits. You know, whenever you go into a bank, it says FDIC insured. Well, it's insured up to $250,000. But the real story, of course, is that they have trillions of dollars that they have to insure, but they only have a couple hundred billion, about 200 billion in assets to cover all of that. So what happens if you want to take your money out of the bank and everyone decides, you know what, I don't trust the banking system anymore. I'm going to go to cash. I'm going to take my money out. I'm going to put it in real estate and gold and silver or Bitcoin, but I don't trust the banking system anymore. Well, guess what happens? The FDIC doesn't have money to cover that. And if these banks collapse because they don't have the money in the banks either, the FDIC does not have the money to cover it. Now, on my other show, we covered the FDIC, the secret meetings and videos that were released covering where they discussed this openly. The FDIC openly in their meetings discussed it, and they have a plan. The plan is, number one, we got to stop people from panicking first. Okay, we've got to move to block off parts of the economy and certain banks so that people can't take withdrawals from their money. We've got to stop withdrawals, right? So if you want to go get your money out, sorry, not available. We're stopping it. We're shutting it down. So we've already seen this. Of course, we've seen this in some European countries. We know what happened in Greece, right? We saw what happened in Afghanistan when people went to the banks to get their money out. And sorry, bank said, your money's not here. It's gone. What? We've been seeing what's happening in Ghana. We've been covering that. And South Africa. And also in some other African countries as well, experiencing this run on the bank issue. Certain people are allowed to go in the banks and get money, but the average customer is not. They're being told you're not allowed to use the ATM machines.
This is Access Bank at Ifako. While a lot of customers are standing outside to have access to the ATM, the security guards locked the compound, the access to the ATM, took some people inside, collected their ATM cards, and have been giving them money in bulk. Here they are. Look at the people. Those are the people they allow in. Those are the people they allow. They allow these people in to give them bulk. They give them access to bulk cash. While their customers are out there, restricted from having access to the ATM. This is GT Bank.
Only the wealthy elites are able to go into the bank and leave with bags of cash. And we showed you the video of that. And people outraged on the streets. So, you think, oh, that just can happen over there. It can't happen in the United States. Really? So we started to see the first signs of this happening on Friday. Now you might say, oh, it's just a woke sort of leftist, Silicon Valley bank, right? They gave themselves, we know this, they gave themselves raises recently. They were supporting all sort of woke, like left politics stuff. Like that's where they were spending their money. Sound familiar? Sound like SBF, at FTX and crypto, right? That's what they were doing. So they're funneling a lot of money to different political activism stuff. Really? A bank's doing that? So then, of course, it collapses and then the money's not there. The tech industry has been teetering with major problems and all of these deposits are gone. So this morning, we have Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen coming out on the Sunday talk shows trying to reassure the public. And you know the Biden administration's concern when they send out members of their monetary team on television to do interviews on a Sunday morning. Janet Yellen, yet other members of the Biden's economic team coming out and talking about it as well this morning. So she comes out and this morning she says, we're going to look at trying to make sure that the depositors are taken care of, but we are not going to bail out this bank. We're not bailing them out. What? Whoa, okay. So get ready. Get ready for runs on the bank, right? People saying, whoa, wait a second. Is my bank even solvent? What about Wells Fargo? What about Bank of America? They sound like they're big, but remember Lehman Brothers? So, of course, this is happening on a weekend. And now the FDIC, in their meeting specifically said when they issue this red alert, they need to do it on a Friday night.
So that if and when we do have to have that announcement on Friday night, ideally Friday night, that people are in a position to receive it, understand it, and say, yeah, that works.
They want to do it on a Friday night, and they game planned it. Their plan is, here it is, in paper, we will announce this on a Friday night. Why? Because banks are closed. So people can't go get money out. If they wanted to, they'll have all weekend to kind of stew in their own filth and thinking, oh my God, my money's gone. Which is what a lot of people are doing right now. Because Wells Fargo and a couple of other big banks on Friday had technical glitches where people went into their accounts and guess what? Their account balances were zero or negative. How does that make you feel? Oh, I just want to go check on my account at Wells Fargo. Oh, honey, we have no money. It says right here, our life savings is gone. Zero. This is really happening. Now, fortunately, Wells Fargo apparently fixed their glitch. But what if they don't, right? And what if people are panicked and worried that what happens to Silicon Valley Bank will happen to their bank? See, the real issue here, guys, is that the banks don't have to keep your money. They lend it out and they buy risky assets with it. So they take your money, your deposits, and they lend it out, fractional reserve banking. And under COVID, it went from 10%, they used to have to keep 10% of your money in the bank, down to 0%. Like this was the smart banking policy that the Federal Reserve created during COVID. So that you deposit $100, they used to have to keep $10 in the bank. Then they could lend out 90 of it in terms of mortgages and loans and car loans, etc. But they had to keep 10. Under COVID, 0. They don't have to keep any of it. So they could invest in all sorts of risky assets. They can do whatever they want. Your money doesn't have to be there. It's not there. So you want to go to the bank? When's the last time that you went and tried to take money out of an ATM and they have a limit how much you can take out, right? Well, go into the teller and say, I have $15,000 here in savings. I'd like to take it all out. Thank you. They're going to look at you and say, you're going to have to come back next week because we don't have that kind of money here. They'll have to go to some central location, have it transported, and you'll have to come back a few days later to get it, if you're lucky. So this is why, guys, I'm a huge advocate right now, absolutely making sure your money is in tangible assets like real estate, gold, silver, cash. Furthermore, we should all have our money in assets that are tangible that cannot be taken away by a bank and dissolved out of thin air. So that's why real estate, gold, and silver are the three things throughout all of human history. And you can throw in precious art into that mix too. Those four things. But I'm not into precious art. So real estate, number one, gold and silver. In a situation like this, they have sustained for thousands of years. Going back to the Roman Empire, you had the wealthy elites inside of the Roman Empire owning real estate, rental properties. So this is not something new, guys, but we have seen this through collapse of governments and fiat currencies. Let's just use this as an example. Let's say you were a person that had millions of dollars in Silicon Valley Bank, and it's gone now because they had a run on the bank, and it's just gone. It failed. The bank failed. It's gone. Or you had $2 million and you bought, 10 homes. Well, you can wake up tomorrow knowing that those homes are still there and people are renting them from you. Now, maybe the value will drop a little bit in a recession. Okay, well, you're not selling them, so it's still going to continue to cash flow. So even if a value drops a little bit, okay, who cares? Because you own this asset, you own the land. So it's not going anywhere. But if you're a Silicon Valley Bank investor or you are an FTX investor, it's gone, right? Because that's fake investing. It doesn't really exist. And these numbers that these banks have on a balance sheet is also fake. So again, I guess, guys, I just want people to be aware that we have this like confidence in this banking system that even as the FDIC admitted in their private meeting that got leaked, it's a joke. That's trouble. I mean, this is why I take paper cash out and coins, right? And gold and silver, because these are tangible things, and real estate. Above all else, real estate. So guys, I just wanted to bring you this update on this Sunday into Monday because of what the Treasury Secretary is speaking this afternoon, and they are not getting any sleep at the Treasury Department right now because crap is hitting the fan. So keep it here, guys, and we'll see you back here real soon here on the Investing in Real Estate Show. Much love to all of you. Take care.